things that I kind of heard recently was about a video of the month. Can you explain where that's coming from and what it is?
Yeah, well, video of the month, again, because we're going to have hopefully a vast amount of playlists and channels, videos on our channel. The idea behind that is that the one that's viewed the most, because we can go in and get the statistics, the statistics, and get all that information, and the one that's been viewed the most during the course of the month will be classed as the video of the month. The great thing about that is what we'll then do is we'll then brand that effectively as an RSCDS one, and it'll go on the one where it's got the RSCDS branding on it, and it'll become the video of the month. And it's a good way of getting as many branches and as many people involved as possible.
Good way of getting involvement. Yeah. Internet radio.
Yeah, internet radio. I know we've not spoken about it yet, but one of the things we will talk about later is the development of the download of the music. The internet radio thing came about quite simply because we thought, why do we not have a chart, a music chart? If this stuff's getting downloaded and people are buying it, why do we not have a top 20 for argument's sake? And the best way to do that is I had suggested, well, we could just once a month we could put a top 20 podcast radio type programme together, internet, and basically play the top 20 tracks that have been downloaded over the course of that month. And it gives an entertainment value in it when it shows, and hopefully the idea is it gets the music and the music that we all love out to as many people as we can.
Could be interesting even as a statistical measurement of which dances are the most popular.
Good, absolutely, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Moving on to music development.
Yes. One of the things I got asked to get involved in was the new media, and we've talked about that. But the music side of things, it was a case of trying to develop the music. The basic premise of where I'm coming from on this is that traditional Scottish dance music that I play, in its strictest form, if you want to call it that. I love it, obviously, I play it, and I think a lot of dancers enjoy the strict, traditional dance music as well. But we have had a lot of feedback through schools and other agencies that we're trying to work with to develop the RSCDS. And the feedback comes back from even teachers and things like that they're looking for music that's a little bit more of the time, put it that way. Now, there has been a lot of investment over the last 10-15 years through Creative Scotland and the like to develop what I would class as aesthetic or listening pleasure type Celtic and Scottish music, which is brilliant, and it's created a real flourish and a real increase in that kind of music. But there's never been a direct budget, or nobody's actually sort of put any kind of development into Scottish dance music. So there hasn't been a lot of young creative talent actually out there thinking completely out the box. The idea behind this is that if we can develop some kind of stepping stones out to a little bit wider, sort of public, then the idea is if we can encourage younger people to listen to this slightly different music, hopefully it would attract them back in to the traditional dance, because we don't want to lose that. It's very similar to classical.
Yeah, I think I see where you're coming from, so that instead of taking musicians who have their own style perhaps, who find it very restraining to come and play for Scottish country dancing, it's a case of trying to get them to come up with their take on Scottish dance music.
Absolutely,
as long as we can still
dance to it. Exactly. So what stays the core is the tempo and things like that. Because I have to say, young people, young musicians, they have a tendency to make it exciting by playing faster.
The faster's not always the answer.
Exactly. No. So the idea is we still want it to be exciting and vibrant and full of life, but we're looking for new ways of doing that. We're keeping the tempo at something that the body can still move along with.
So I take it this can all go kind of hand in hand with the CPD project and getting into schools and colleges and the like.
Yes, exactly. Obviously, the idea behind this is that we need to develop some form of what you would call a ladder of success for young musicians, which is exactly what we've been talking about. If we can develop this global network of people, then the young musicians and young dancers, if it comes to that, young choreographers and young people that want to get into developing dance as well, would have the same ladder of success, the ladder pathway forward out to this global community that we have. The idea behind that then is that there's a huge incentive for all the young musicians and young dancers to then put their creative hats on and you know, give us some interesting new music.
No, I can see that. I find there's a lot of young dancers out there who don't quite graduate to doing RSCDS style Scottish country dancing.
Yeah.
They do maybe a bit of Cayley. They're far more into a pop-based music and movement type culture.
Yes.
And we're really trying to capture that market.
Yeah.
With these young musicians and young dancers.
Exactly, and the idea being is if we can have this halfway house between what we would class as, you know, the Cayley type dancing, somewhere we're trying to get the same kind of people but get them closer to the traditional thing. But the only way to do that is to give them a stepping stone, and there has to be a place to go to, so we have to develop that, and that's really the role of the developer.
Yeah, I think that's one that's been neglected in the past. We've just assumed we could train all these people to our way of doing things.
Yeah, aye, and I have to be honest, as a musician, when you actually look at it, it's what's the best way to put it? As a group of Scottish traditional musicians, we have a tendency to sit in a metaphorical circle, looking in,
yeah,
and playing what we play and expecting the general public to actually like it. We love it, but we maybe should turn around and actually then say, well, hold on, what is the general public looking for? What do they want? And try and maybe adapt what it is that we're doing to fit slightly closer to that.
I can see all of that. I know that one or two people would express a fear that we're losing some of our core traditions, but I really don't see that as a danger, because I think we have enough history behind us to be able to keep those traditions and encompass some new stuff.
Absolutely. I think one of the big areas that I'm hoping to work with the young musicians with is actually not playing new tunes, because there's a lot of new tunes getting played at the moment, and there's not an awful lot of the traditional stuff getting regurgitated. My aim is to go back and try and get some of the Gows and the Marshalls music out there, but so it's actually given the new traditional, or the old traditions, a new look, in the sense that it'll hopefully revive some of that, rather than moving it all away in a different direction. It's actually bringing it back to life, hopefully. I remember having a discussion years ago with a very clever guy, a man a lot of people might know, a guy called Ian Peterson, a very good composer in Scotland, having a discussion about that very thing about tradition, and do we keep it, or how do we keep it, and I remember we spoke about it, and interestingly we came to the conclusion that as musicians, we are, for the time that we are involved in playing and performing the music, the custodians of a tradition.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, there are two sides to that coin. If we keep the tradition exactly as it was and never let it develop, as a custodian we've failed it, in the sense that if it doesn't develop and the general public don't follow it, and it dies out because it doesn't have a following, we've failed it. Equally, it has to have some kind of following to stay alive, so it has to develop slightly. So you always have to have this way of allowing the general public access to the traditions in a way that they find acceptable, but still keeping the tradition alive.
No, I'm with you 100% on that. That I think very often in the past we've just closed our doors. We've been totally inward looking. We haven't really wanted to embrace anything. But I think that our history shows that over the past 89 years we've not really been that successful in encouraging new people into our way of doing things. Therefore I do think it's worth it's worth at least going out and beginning new approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a case of having the investment, basically.
Yeah.
Not necessarily even financial, just the investment so that the young musicians, as I say, can see some career path or development ladder that they can actually get on.
I find that very appealing, I have to say. And I know you do.
Yeah.